Hello, always good to have you join us on platform. I'm Ruth Aguele. Now, the cliche, your health is your wealth, is still very apt. Especially if you take a look at Nigeria's population growth, urbanization, and climate change. Now, these are areas of concerns that may pose, environmental health challenges, especially with diverse environmental problems such as air pollution, water pollution, oil spillage, deforestation, desertification, erosion, and flooding. Public health, no doubt, is of great importance. Now, this is because it deals with many things that affects man's life in one way or the other, from environmental and food hygiene to building, water sanitation technology, and waste treatment disposal to the control of diseases and others. While we do our bit as individuals, there are those in charge with the responsibility of ensuring compliance with environmental health laws. Now, that is the Environmental Health Officers Registration Council of Nigeria. It is an agency under the Federal Ministry of Environment charged with the responsibility of regulating environmental health profession in Nigeria. Part of its mandate is to determine what standards of knowledge and skills are to be attained by persons seeking to become members of the profession of environmental health and improving those standards from time to time as circumstances may permit. Also securing in accordance with the provisions of its act, the establishment and maintenance of persons registered under its act as members of the profession and the publication from time to time of lists of those persons. You agree with me that with the growing concerns of environmental health, how much attention and regulation is being carried out on a daily basis? What is the status of environmental health practice in Nigeria? Well, that is actually a focus on platform today, and our guest is the Registrar, Environmental Health Officers Registration Council of Nigeria, Dr. Baba Yakubu Mohammed. Thank you very much, Dr. Mohammed, for joining us on platform.
Thank you for having me, Ruth.
And this is your first time on platform, right?
That's great.
Yes, we have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Your profile is quite intimidating. I have 10 pages here of your profile, but we'll just take you through a bit of who Dr. Baba Yakubu Mohammed is. He has a PhD in Environmental Health and Safety. That's from Abuja State University. Master of Science, Environmental Health Management. Master of Public Health, Imo State. Bachelor of Science, Environmental Health. Okay, and he has fellowship awards and professional memberships from different international and local organizations of repute, actually. He is, of course, he's a registrar of the Environmental Health Council, Registration Council in Nigeria. And when you want to, if I want to delve into this profile, we're not going to leave here. So, Dr. Mohammed, with your permission, let's just leave it at that.
It's okay, yeah,
but you have done really well for yourself when it comes to, putting environmental health in the forefront for Nigeria. You have done immensely well, and I'm sure Nigeria is very proud of you.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's bring in our panelists. Onenge Fineface, our environment guru in NTA. Onenge, always nice to have you on platform.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to join you on this program again, Ruth.
Always a pleasure. So, Dr. Mohammed, we're talking the status of environmental health practice in Nigeria. There's a whole lot we get to see on a daily basis. Health is something of concern. This is what we breathe and live. We must be healthy on a daily basis. But what is more of importance is our environment. If it's not in a healthy state, then we cannot be in a healthy state. If you want to paint a picture, give us a summary of the level where Nigeria is, if we want to look at our environment health status, what will it be?
Well, thank you very much, Ruth and Onenge Fineface. We have looked at NTA as one of our critical partners in trying to create awareness and let Nigerians know what environmental health is all about. I will start by saying environmental health is what we practice from the cradle to the grave, because You start from when you are born, and you continue to practice the profession till when you are in the grave. Yes. And that's why when you take the history of the profession of environmental health, it started with the colonial masters. Because the colonial masters, when they are coming to colonize Nigeria, they are coming with a positive thinking of one, strengthening public health, because they don't want to spend so much money on curative health. So therefore, when they came, the first thing they did, when there is no even university that is teaching any profession formally, they established the School of Hygiene in 3 regions. The School of Hygiene in Kano, and the School of Hygiene in Yaba, and the School of Health Technology in Aba. And the purpose and the aim of establishing that schools is to train the sanitary inspector of all, and to also show you how important environmental health was given to the colonial masters as at that time. Even when Nigeria is going for amalgamation, the chief sanitary inspector is among the first 6 persons that have really gone to discuss on the issue of amalgamation. That is at the highest level. Then also, we can recall with nostalgia, the contribution of the sanitary inspectors in controlling diseases like yaw, smallpox, and yellow fever that time. They play a critical role in really providing non-curative services to be able to contain and make Nigeria being certified by WHO as yellow fever free, yaws free, and also most of the endemic disease free that time. So now, environmental health has been revolving because it's very dynamic and also very complex. It comes with what we call emerging and re-emerging diseases. And that's why on the issue of what is happening today, from the problem of climate change to the issue of flood disaster, to the issue of desert encroachment, to the issue of all the emerging issues that are coming, like Lassa fever, cholera. All these are diseases that are revolving around the environmental health. Yes. And all these are issues that if we are able to get the environmental health perspectives right, we won't be talking about them at all. Because you know, like what you said, environment is very critical. And whatever you see is domicile in the environment. And whatever you give to the environment,
is what it will give.
That's what the environment is giving you in return.
Yes.
So you see a situation whereby a patient, no matter how we look at the investment we have put in the health sector, he will go to the hospital with one disease. And after he may have been treated with the all necessary new specialized equipment, you are still returning him back to the same environment that he has acquired the disease.
Which is
so that is the vicious cycle. So he is sick today, he comes back to the environment, acquires the disease again, and get back to the hospital again. So what are we saying? We are saying that we need to go back to the rudiments of how the colonial masters have done the structure for health sector in Nigeria. And the structure keep emphasis to the issue of preventive health. Preventive health is number one. If you are able to put your preventive health as the first point of defense, is when the preventive health services has broken, then somebody gets sick. Then he can be treated and return back to Nigeria. But the scenario is not happening as we see in the health sector structure in Nigeria.
Okay, Dr. Baba, I want to hold your thoughts there.
Yeah.
What you've laid a foundation for this conversation, which is very important. And even if we have to go back, to how it used to be, we can only borrow a lead. What is present at the moment, the world is changing. We see the climate change evolve, and these are issues that are of great concern, whether we like it or not. Yeah. And that's where the registration council comes in. That's where I was trying to, draw your attention to. Yeah. You have, the laws gives the authority, has given you the authority, to regulate environmental health. Yeah. And you even have a specific mandate to arrest, if possible, people violating these practices. Yeah. So at what point, or where is the registration council at this time?
Well, thank you very much. You see, because of maybe the strategic importance or the strategic role environmental health is playing, environmental health cut across ministries, because the function of the environmental health officers are fragmented. Some of our activities are domiciled in Ministry of Health, some are in Ministry of Environment, and some are domiciled in water resources. So the council is playing the interface where we can be able to create synergy between these three cutting ministries, because without doing that, we cannot really coordinate the practice. The President Commander-in-Chief, President Muhammad Buhari, in his wisdom, has assented to the amendment of the new act that established the council. As from 2002 to 2023, the mandate of the council is just to register members, train the members, and also see how they can improve their knowledge from time to time. But with the new act that the president has given, it has given the council the mandate to regulate environmental health in all its ramifications. And when you look at the WHO definition of what environmental health is and the component of the environmental health, we are looking at 21 components of environmental health. And it is also broken down into some segment. Like when the Ministry of Environment was created, a division, part of the environmental health department in the Ministry of Health was moved to Federal Ministry of Environment. What is the focus of that division is to provide and address the issue of sanitation by providing the necessary policy framework for the states and for the local government to buy in, to make sure that the issue of sanitation is addressed. When you look at that, the sanitation alone has about another 17 components, plus from what we call school sanitation, because school, as you see it, requires some standard. There is some minimum standard that the school should meet to meet up with the sanitation requirement. There is market sanitation, abattoir sanitation, sanitation in hospitality industries, which is also very critical. So when you look at all this, environmental health is sitting in a position that need to cut across all sphere of life. Because even in this studio, it is the responsibility of the EHO to come and assess and inspect the studio look at one, the condition of the lighting, the ventilation, the space, and also even the sanitary requirements, depending on the number of staff that are attached to
And I'm sure
this.
you'll give us a pass mark because this is well.
Yeah, so I'm just giving you an example. So this is to show you how important environmental health is. And you know, all this issue of having emerging and re-emerging diseases.
Yeah.
Because one thing with environmental health, if we are getting it right, you see the indices going down. Let me ask you, most of the endemic diseases like malaria, cholera, and this, are the indices really going down?
Yeah.
The answer is no. And it means anything you are doing and you are not achieving result, that means you are not doing it right. So what are we saying? As a council now, we are reaching out in the spirit of collaboration and integration that is being preached by the President Commander-in-Chief. We have to reach out to Ministry of Health because our members are there. We have to reach out to Water Resources because our members are there. And also we have to reach out to the Ministry of Environment where we are domiciled and bulk of our activities is in the
Registrar,
environment.
sir, let me cut in there.
Yeah.
Growing up in Port Harcourt, there is this mindset we had, the fear of sanitary inspectors.
Is the beginning of wisdom.
Beginning of wisdom.
Yeah.
The moment they appear, you see people running, hiding,
Yes,
cleaning.
we even used to, engage in sanitation practices.
Yeah.
You know, it was
So
really
what's
good.
changed? And with this evolution of the council from officers registration to the Environmental Health Council of Nigeria, are we going to see that force of enforcement where people become very conscious of sanitary or environmental health in their environment?
Well, actually, the council under my leadership, we have achieved, we had a modest achievement. Because since I came on board less than 2 years ago, what we are doing is to build the necessary infrastructure where environmental health can bring back the lost glory of the practice. For example, the sanitary inspector of all, during the course of his inspection, because at that time we are doing analog practice, he has powers and privilege to enter into any premises without a warrant. And he can be able to also look at a food that is intended for the consumption of humans and say this food is not fit for human consumption. And you know, the sanitary inspectors, we prosecute our causes, our sanitary offense cases at the magistrate level, as at that time. Now, what we intend to do, because now you have to prove beyond reasonable doubt to the juries for him to really know that, yes, this food, scientifically you show evidence that the food is not fit for human consumption. Okay. So part of what we want to commend the President, Commander-in-Chief, is 2002, he graciously approved
2002.
2022, I mean, graciously approved that we should establish the first environmental and public health laboratory. What is the uses of that environmental and public health laboratory is to address the environmental media, so that now as an AHO, if I am working and I have seen a food, physical appearance is showing that it's not fit for human consumption, I can be able to take a sample, send it to the lab, so that the lab can analyze and identify the microbial load in that food, so that you can use that result from the lab to be able to prosecute your case before the magistrate that this is a microbial load in the food. Also, the issue of cholera is becoming an occurring decimal. Yeah. Why is it so? It's because the environmental health system that's supposed to, as a matter of routine, be monitoring our water resources, the facility are not there. So with the coming of this lab, we are expecting that the sanitary inspectors in the local government level can be able to take sample of water, bring it to the lab so that we can be able to analyze the water and see if there is a relationship between contamination and no contamination for the water sources. Before it's a matter of routine. So there is always a synergy between the environmental health authority in the local government and the water board in every local government. In a situation whereby they identify some E. coli, which is any water that you identify E. coli, that means there is possibility of contamination of that water from fecal origin.
Okay, so
what you need to do, you send your report to water district so that they will increase the chlorine content in the water distribution system. So with that, there is check and balances.
Okay. I just want to be clear on something. Yeah. This laboratory, how many is it right now in the country?
We are having just one.
Okay.
But the intention is for us to establish in between 2023 2024 to have the zonal labs. But this one is a reference laboratory that you can be able to move your sample because we have left the rudiment for too long.
Yes, because where I'm getting at, if we have, which is a good feat, by the way, a step in the right direction, you put it. But you also just admitted that it's long overdue.
It is.
So if we want to, nip these problems in the board beyond not waiting for that lab, which is still restricted, is at a central level, and if you want to paint a picture, narrow it down to local government, even in the urban centers, especially settlements, you go to certain environments and waste management is in a terrible state. And that's where you get to hear cholera out. Even in the Federal Capital Territory, when you go to all those satellite towns, cholera outbreak is rampant. The question is, your officers, they have this law, the rights given to them, to inspect this environment. Is it a problem of lack of manpower or lack of cooperation from the citizens? What is actually the problem? Why still
actually, we can look at this in three perspectives. Okay. The first perspective is people don't look at the issue of having toilet facility in their houses as a priority because they don't even know the value of constructing a pilot. To give you an example, even in the FCT, the communities that suffer this cholera outbreak are identifiable, and they are the same community that suffer this outbreak consistently.
Yes.
And the issue is simple. Because they are defecating openly. And when you defecate openly, that's why the cholera is a seasonal disease. Immediately the rainfall set in, it will wash all this fecal matter into the body of waters. And remember, these communities, they rely on this water as means of their livelihood. That's what they use for domestic and also for other uses. And most of them don't know how to apply the issue of disinfecting the water before usage. So this is one perspective. The second perspective is the politicians. The politicians don't look at the need to invest in building toilet facility. They prepare to build a clinic, put drugs and everything. They don't look at what is the value of building a toilet. You know, it has a value chain advantage. So the politicians must come to realize that it's not only building hospital that is important in the community. Such communities that are always suffering from cholera, if you want to do an intervention to stop this issue, one, you do the creation of awareness, then you do intervention on this. And let me tell you what we are doing in the council. I just came back from the United Nations Conference on Water Security in New York. And part of what, I was part of the discussant in one of the side events organized by the United States Chambers of Commerce. When you look at the focus of the conference, because that conference was held last 40 years ago, but because the United Nations has understood the significance and also importance of water as it relates to addressing the climate change issue, decided to convey that the particular water conference.
We intend to look at that water conference more closely, but before we get there, our discussion so far has been focused on what environmental health officers, what the council is doing, should do, should have done, and so on and so forth. Let's talk about citizen responsibility. Where does it come in all of this?
Well, citizen responsibility is very critical. That's why initially I say we have to look at it from three perspectives. I think the last perspective depends on the citizens. And it has also two branches. One, the citizen or the community should really look at the issue of sanitation as an integral part of their life. Because the consequences of sanitation affect them, not the federal government, not the state government, not the local government. So they need to take it as part of the responsibility of the community to do what they think they can do within the constraint of what they have. By one, making sure that they advise their ward not to defecate openly.
Open defecation.
Secondly, the last tiers of government, you know, environmental health is domiciled as the responsibility of the local government. As 1999 Constitution as amended, give the powers
to the
local government to provide the environmental health services. So the local government should also look at the possibility within the constraint of the funding and see how they can put the issue of sanitation as one of their priorities.
Make it a priority. So,
then the third one is we as a council, we have created the enabling environment for the private sector to come and invest in sanitation. Because investing in sanitation, there is no any investment that can give you up to 500% interest like investing in the sanitation, which I will explain in details, maybe in our subsequent.
You had mentioned the water conference. I monitored proceedings at that conference, and a major take-home for me from that conference was the annoyance expressed by some participants that not having water, sanitation, hygiene facilities in all public spaces is almost criminal. Not having it in health centers is unimaginable. What's the status of our wash presence in health centers, especially primary health facilities across the country?
Just before you respond, Dr. Baba, we have to take this break. So hold that thought. When we come back from this break, we'll pick up. Stay tuned.
insists that the Buhari-led administration has made remarkable progress.
Like Lafia Transmission Station nearing completion.
Africa does not need charity, but partnerships that will promote the adequate investment.
With the cooperation of all.
Sharing firsthand the experiences of reporters on the field as they bring to you weekly the beauty of Nigeria's diverse culture and the economic potentials therein. The Correspondents, development through the eye of the grassroots, showing every Monday at 1:30 p.m. on the network service of the NTA, with a repeat broadcast on NTA News 24 and NTA International. Join us.
Allow these children to grow.
Yes.
Many of them, you have somebody 14, 15 going to the university. Where are you going?
Information technology is the future.
Hello, a warm welcome to you. This is Platform. I'm Ruth Aguela.
If you don't create that awareness and you don't bring the young minds to identify that there are benefits in astronomy.
We have had experiences through various leadership strata, bringing us to where we can...
Platform engages guests on topical issues for national interest.
We have cases like that. We ought to protect children and also make parents realize that they have a primary responsibility.
Join us every Thursday at 2 p.m. on the network service of the NTA.
Welcome back. We're still looking at the status of environmental health in Nigeria, talking about the practice. Now, Dr. Baba Onege asked the question in relation to the UN Water Conference and the grievances expressed during the conference. So, go ahead.
Well, I think as a fallout to the United Nations Water Conference in New York, the Federal Ministry of Environment has taken a proactive measures. If you can recall, last 2 days, the Honorable Minister inaugurated a 4-man committee to develop the national policy for water sanitation in Nigeria, which is a plus as far as the framework for achieving what we have agreed in New York during the United Nations Water Conference. Also, part of what I think is going for us in Nigeria and in Africa in general is the approval by the United States government for a global action fund, which is to the tune of $3 billion, focusing mainly on the issue of sanitation and hygiene in the developing countries. And the area of concentration is also on the issue of water, sanitation, and hygiene. And I think we had also made case for Nigeria, and we had a promissory note. What we require is for us to come and reposition ourselves so that we can be also the in-routes for Africa, because we are able to make a case telling them that if they are able to get it right in Nigeria, more than 50% of the African problem is solved. So this is part of the conversation we are having, and we have to match it with action, because you don't just when there is a promissory note. So what we also intend to do as a council now, we need to look at how we can start making a program and projects before we are able to conclude the issue of assessment of that $3 billion for Africa. And part of what we intend to do is to really come up with a conceptual framework where we will develop the capacity of the practitioners of environmental health through our resource center. And we are reaching out because fortunately everybody is taking the issue of water, sanitation and hygiene very seriously at the global level. And we have identified about 17 private people that are willing to come and invest in Nigeria. So we need to really come up with a program and a project that we have started reaching out to really give us the technical assistance that we are required to really put the institutional framework so that we can be able to provide the leadership in addressing the issue of WASH. More importantly, the focus of the conference, like what my brother Onenge Fine Face has mentioned, is to provide the necessary platform for the private sector to come and invest on the issue of WASH, because government cannot do it alone. Then on the issue of the healthcare facility, which is also the center of discussion during the water conference, we have already set up a committee to go and do what we call a need assessment in all the health facility in Nigeria, so that we can be able to know first what is the strength that we have in the facility and what are the challenges, what are the gaps. This will give us an insight to really see a comprehensive picture of how our health facility status is in terms of water, sanitation and hygiene. And we can be able to also, after taking inventory of what is there, to see what intervention each and every facility is required in Nigeria.
Dr. Baba, this is very precise, what you have just said. Investments cannot be overlooked when it comes to environmental health, no doubt. And earlier you mentioned school sanitation, market sanitation, the abattoir, hospitality. These are areas of critical concerns, and these are the aspects that live with us. We see that in our daily lives. But the question is, I remember during the COVID-19 pandemic, that was when I saw these environmental health officers on ground, readily there, inspecting, people's environment because of hygiene. Do we always have to wait for a pandemic or an outbreak before we take action? A lot of Nigerians will be, some persons, I'm not sure the sensitization, but you will tell us in terms of your officers, health officers going out there. Before we get these funds come in, what are we doing first at our own local level to ensure that people are complying, enforcing these laws?
Thank you very much. Maybe before I go into the discussion on maybe the contribution and how strategic the officers are. The new thinking of the council is to build the environmental health workforce that is deviant from jack of all trade, master of all. So at the regional level, we are able to create subspeciality, because what we really intend to do is we want to develop the capacity of these men so that they can be specialized in all areas that we think are very critical in service delivery in environmental health. So we have created about now 17 specialty in environmental health. And through the resource center that we have built in Abuja, and that resource center has the facility to allow teaching, e-learning, because this is what is in. We have seen a lot of challenge during COVID, and that's why the council thought outside the box, because you cannot just bring all your membership in one place and you say you want to train them. So when you visit our facility in Gwarampa, as we speak today, you will see a well-equipped center whereby our technical partners in UK, in London, in US, in Canada, can be able to deliver and have interface with the people that are in the classroom, not only people in the classroom. At the comfort of your room, you can be able to participate in this capacity building. Because if you don't build the capacity of your men, you cannot really drive the new process of the new innovations and the new research and development that we want to move the profession to do. So now this is our focus. Then the environmental health officers, you know, people are clamoring for reintroduction of the environmental health officers. So what really goes wrong? The issue is the local government is not recruiting them. So they are not adequate in the local government system. Even when they are adequate, they don't provide the necessary logistics for them to do their job. Even when they provide the necessary logistics for them, the politicians are using them to be revenue collectors.
Which is not supposed to be.
Surprising. Which is not supposed to be. So that's what we are frowning at. So you see a situation whereby an EHO would go and do an environmental surveillance of a premises, come up with a report, and that particular premises has not met up with the standard of living. He will close down that facility. Then his chairman would take a phone and call him and say, you know, that premises belong to the party chairman. So how can you go and close that property? So we are having a lot of political interference also in our job. But I believe...
But you still have the powers.
We still have the power. So I think we are going in the right direction because we are trying to, based on the issuance of the practice regulations and also domestication of the public health law, which is the greatest instrument that the environmental health officers are using at the grassroots. You know, that public health law is a wonderful legislation because it gives the power to the sanitary inspector to enter into any premises without a warrant.
But
for the purpose of the inspection.
Has been reviewed and it's been...
No, you see, the acts that I'm talking about is the act that established the council to regulate the practice. Then there is another instrument that the public health officers use at the local government. That's what we call the public health law. And that public health law is what stipulates the step-by-step that you can take to prosecute your cases, to abate nuisance in the premises. And it also stipulated and enumerate all your powers and your privileges in the public health law. But where we had a challenge, that law is a regional law. So we have made effort at the national level to have a national legislation, the public health law, national legislation, to amend the regional law of 1958.
So that it can give you more powers.
More power, EHOs more power. So, but when there is a lot of setback in the National Assembly, because that bill has been there for the past 12 years.
Okay.
So we encourage the state, because now the issue of environmental health is coming into a concurrent legislative this thing. So the state government can be able to legislate on the matters that pertain environmental health. Okay. So that's why at the state level and at the local government level.
All right, so we would like to hold your thoughts on that and look at something else very important. You know, the planetary crisis now facing the world. We have climate change, loss of biodiversity, and pollution, where environmental health comes in. Let's understand how your activities complement Nigeria's action plan on climate change and how this intertwined, how this relationship is affecting and impacting environmental health in Nigeria, talking about climate change, biodiversity loss, and pollution?
Well, thank you very much. I think environmental health is at the center. And for you to also address the issue of climate change, you can't leave environmental health at far. Because one, let me give you also a typical example. When you go to Port Harcourt, you see, as a result of maybe illegal mining, refining. Illegal refining, and the rest of them, you see a lot of air pollutants being emitted in this. Yeah. And this is part of the environmental health job. Because as we speak, we don't have the air quality index in all the state of the federation, which is also a national requirement. So what we intend to do now is, with this lab that we have, we need to start a pilot project this year to be able to take inventory to know the air quality index of more vulnerable states, so that we can be able to make a statement. Not only making a statement, we can be able to know the roots and also the causes of this emission. Secondly, at the council level, we are at the professional level, we are very, very much at the grassroots. Because looking at our database, we had over 50,000 environmental health officers. And over 60% of this personnel are at the grassroots level. And what it means, they are directly having interface with the community. So we have come up with our programs of building resilience. Then also coming up with the issue of what we call circular economy concept. And we have started programs in about 6 pilot projects where we identify women that are the vulnerable group and the youths. All of them are vulnerable group. So we have started teaching them how to combat plastic waste into interlock. The women, we have started interlocking tiles, yes. And the women, we have started teaching them how to combat this plastic waste into a smokeless charcoal. It will amaze you to know that it's really serving as a livelihood means to those communities that we have piloted the project.
Well, that sounds as alternatives of fuel.
We have just a few minutes to go.
Yeah, so
in summary, as a way of rounding off this conversation, I know this is a very serious issue. We can talk about it from now to tomorrow. But the basic line, you have talked about infrastructure, you have talked about funding, commitment at all levels. There's a whole lot, and we also have mentioned the role of the individuals. But I want you to give us a projection for the EHO. You know, what should Nigerians be expecting? Because this is something we cannot run away from. It's our environment. We live in it. So whether we like it or not, we all have a stake in it.
So I think the new thinking and the new targets and the new projection of the new environmental health practices, we are having a new dawn in the practice. What we will emphasize on is we are emphasizing on building capacity of these practitioners, because we know without building the capacity of the practitioners, we cannot be able to address this issue of emerging and emerging issues that are occurring in the nation. And the second segment is we are challenging also our academia to also put emphasis on the issue of research and development, because we have a lot of new innovations that we are always selling at the international level to seek support, because all the international communities now thinking is to come and support new innovations that are locally made, because what is working in the US may not work in Nigeria. What is working in the UK may not really work in Nigeria. So we are also reaching out to them. Part of the new innovations that we have developed in Nigeria, like the issue of the abattoir, is a huge problem. Okay. And we have come up with a solution where we are working with a sister agency where we can convert all the abattoir waste into what we call biogas, and also solari for the farmers to use.
Dr. Mohammed,
it just goes on and on.
I want to give Onenge a few seconds. If you give me your word that you answer his question also in a few seconds.
Yeah, I will.
Okay, so Onenge, a few seconds, your question, let him just go because we have to round off.
In the next 1 year, where do you see environmental health in Nigeria?
Well, it's a very simple question. Our target is between now to COP28. We must have something that we are taking to sell in COP28, because we know the last COP27, what we are focusing on is on the issue of energy transition. Okay. You cannot do energy transition
Dr.
without
without
issue of. Thank you very much.
Yeah, but I know the message is simple. Yeah. Let's do the right thing with
Let's
commitment.
Do the right thing.
Let's just do the right thing.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bala.
Thank you very much
Mohammed.
for having me.
He's the Registrar, Environmental Health Officers Registration Council of Nigeria. Our environment man. Thank you so much, Onenge Fineface, for your time.
Thank you for having me. As always, it's a pleasure.
All right, so that's platform. We've been talking about the status of environmental health practice in Nigeria. You have a role to play if we want a healthy society. Yes, you do. I do also. That's platform. I'm Ruth Aguele. Bye.